And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today, folks. This winter's taught us how important the right choice is in automotive batteries. So we have a battery expert on the Car Clinic hotline with us now, Jim Bates. Jim has been training automotive teachers, technicians, and do-it-yourselfers for over 40 years in live workshops, in print, and with videos. He currently produces several YouTube channels, including The Battery Shop that you hear me talking about. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Really glad to be here.
Let's get right to the meat of things. For Car Clinic listeners and viewers, and maybe DIYers as well, what goes into installing your own battery? Can you provide just a 30,000-foot view of tips and maybe best practices?
Well, sure. I think the most important thing is to be safe. You want to also research your project before you start, to be sure that you're familiar with the project, you have everything you need, you don't forget anything. You also want to be sure to use gloves and safety glasses when you're working anywhere near batteries. And then try to follow the original equipment manufacturer's procedures as best that you can. Of course, you can find those in things like service and repair manuals that you can pick up at the dealer and local auto parts stores. And another great place to start would be the Battery Shop YouTube channel.
So let's talk a little bit about the Battery Shop YouTube channel. I understand that you've produced videos there, and that's a great go-to arena to learn not only how to install a battery, but give us an overview of all of the information, or at least the highlights of what one can expect to find on the YouTube channel, The Battery Shop.
Sure enough. The Battery Shop, of course, is a YouTube destination that we created mostly to provide battery replacement information that follows the original equipment procedures as much as possible anyway, so that technicians and do-it-yourselfers can replace the vehicle's battery, without hurting themselves safely and efficiently. And we really started out with what we like to call the difficult installations, where batteries are located under the seats and in the trunk and hiding under things that are in the engine compartment. So we have videos on the earlier installations, too, because today's vehicles have a lot of electronics and computers and equipment that need to have their memories kept alive during the replacement procedure. So we also use and explain the memory-saving options that everybody should use when we're replacing batteries for those vehicles. And we actually have a video on the different types of memory savers that are available out there in the Battery Shop. So they can watch that video, too, just to learn about memory savers before they choose and use the correct one for the vehicle that they're working on. And, of course, the Battery Shop also has other useful information that people, do-it-yourselfers, technicians, can use on battery recycling, battery science, and technology, too.
Well, that's really important, and you did touch on the battery save. And for all of you folks out there, specifically, when you remove the battery from your automobile, the vehicle has to retain a lot of information in presets, not only radio or mirror or seats, but there are other more important information. And Jim, that's some really great advice with regard to going to the Battery Shop YouTube channel to understand how you can actually remove the battery from the car, put a new battery in, and the car never really knows that it was without a battery because you have the battery save mode. Let's shift gears and talk about AGMs. That's absorbent glass mat batteries. They're superior to regular flooded battery types. How?
Well, first of all, they perform a whole lot better than the regular flooded types, and there's several reasons for that. Mainly, the big thing is they have this special mat that's made out of glass microfibers, and it's put in between the plates inside the battery that absorb the electrolyte. And so on a regular battery, the electrolyte sloshes around inside the battery and maybe not always covering all the plate surface so that you don't have the type of performance that you need for electrons getting out and, charging it up, coming back in. So that's why they're called AGM, or absorbent glass mat batteries. And, of course, the mat keeps the electrolyte in constant contact with the entire plate surface, so you can imagine how much better that's going to work. These things can deliver maximum power better because of that particular contact between the mat and the plate. And another thing they do is they recharge a lot faster, too, which is really critical in vehicles that have start-stop systems, because on those vehicles, whenever the engine stops, the battery has to take over and, run everything on the vehicle because your alternator is not putting anything out. So it's important that when the engine starts up again, that whatever's been used out of the battery gets put back in as quick as possible. So AGM batteries do a great job of that. And, of course, they're sealed and they're maintenance-free. So that means that you don't have to put any water in them. You don't, like a regular flooded battery sometimes need. But being a sealed battery, they're a lot safer, too.
Wow. We're talking with Jim Bates, Aftermarket Technical Training Center Manager for Johnson Controls. So, Jim, for car owners who really don't drive their car very often, and we run across this a great deal in the automotive service industry, is a battery maintainer unit safe for use to help keep the battery's car charged, and to what point should you use a battery maintainer?
Well, I think that a modern battery maintainer certainly is safe. And what I mean by modern, I mean, ones that have been manufactured in the last few years. They're all electronic. Some of them have little microcomputers in them that monitor the level of charge that's in the battery so that they know when to be charged a little bit more than others and when to be trickle charged or just maintained. And, of course, they're safe to use on automotive batteries that are in good shape. Charged, I should say, and in good shape, because it's really tough to charge up a dead battery with a maintainer. But, one that's in a vehicle that's not being used very often. Take, for instance, RVs, marine, off-road vehicles, stuff like that. But they work just as well in passenger cars and trucks, too. Optima has a great maintainer that's good for all types of batteries. Old style, new style, every time, because they're kind of like a computer-controlled battery. They, like I was mentioning a few minutes ago, they sense the battery's condition and put the right kind of maintenance charge in it to keep it ready to go for as long as you have it on there.
So those modern chargers, as you referred to, are definitely not only safe, but they actually ping the battery on occasion and determine the needs of the battery. And if the battery doesn't need to be charged, they don't charge. And I've recommended for years the modern, as you say, the modern battery maintainer. Share with our content listeners and viewers where they can find batteries that are sold in the automotive industry that are manufactured by Johnson Controls.
Well, I guess we could start with the majority of the OEMs, as an example, Ford, GM, Hyundai, BMW, Jag. We provide batteries for those guys, and so their dealerships would be one place. We also provide batteries to the heavy-duty market, too, like Navistar and Club Car and places like that. So that's just dealership stuff. The other place you can find batteries that we private label for in the automotive aftermarket are people like AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, and, places like that.
And where are the batteries manufactured, basically, Jim?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. We actually have 55 manufacturing, recycling, and distribution centers throughout the globe. 17 of those facilities are strategically located here throughout the United States.
I have one last question, and this is really a question for you, and the answer is more for our Car Clinic listeners and viewers, and for me as well. I know that batteries are the number one recycled product in the industry, at least that's what my belief is. And I understand there are many batteries that are not being recycled. And for those car owners, now listen up, folks, who do install their own batteries, where can they go to learn more about recycling, which is absolutely essential and important, not only to a clean environment, but to just the typical waste? Why would you waste a perfectly good battery that could be recycled? So share your experience and your knowledge with all of our Car Clinic listeners.
Be glad to. So you're exactly right. Batteries are currently the number one recycled product in the automotive industry. About 99% of all the batteries sold are eventually returned as cores, and they get recycled, because they are valuable. And that 1% of batteries that are not being recycled, it's about 2 million batteries globally. So, yeah, so we suggest, here's a great site for you, recyclingmybattery.com.
recyclingmybattery.com. got
that's
it.
That's a great place to start. And the battery shop has got some nice videos about recycling, and would be a good place to learn more about it too.
Well, what an enlightening conversation. I know you're busy. I'll let you go, but I'll just tell you it's really important that our Car Clinic listeners and the viewers at watchbobbylive.com can really get their teeth into, and no pun intended, the battery, because everything in a car starts at the battery. Again, Jim Bates, Automotive Aftermarket Technical Training Center Manager for Johnson Controls. Jim, it was really great to have you sharing the mic with me today.
It's just a pleasure to be here. Thank you.